Good evening. My name is Mark Turner, and I'd like to welcome you to my presentation for Curriculum Night 2021-2022. Also, you're watching this presentation if your son or daughter is in my honors government and econ course or in my honors U.S. history course. So I have been in the classroom for about 28 years, actually 30 if you want to look at student teaching and a few other odds and ends. I do teach, as I said, government, history, and econ. I also teach AP econ and AP macroeconomics. But I went and did my undergraduate work at Boston University, and then my master's degree came from the University of South Carolina many years ago. Currently, I am taking courses at Ashland University for another master's, which is something that is made possible by a fellowship from the James Madison Foundation that I got a few years ago. I do other things. In my free time, I love to bike. I'm getting ready for a trek across Pennsylvania and Maryland next summer. And I also play a lot of guitar. And several times a year, you can find me at competitive barbecue competitions. So if you want to talk about ribs or you want to talk about pulled pork or brisket, give me a call. So my courses, as you see, are up here and what we cover. So if your student has me for U.S. history, then we kind of cover the traditional survey. That means the American Revolution, the creation of the Constitution, westward expansion, the Civil War, Reconstruction. We look at the Great Depression, the World Wars, the Cold War, the Civil Rights Movement, and then we look at the 80s and 90s with Reagan and Bush. A big change with the standards this year is emphasis on historical skills, which is long overdue. Essentially, we're going to be grading work based on things like students' ability to contextualize, their ability to speak to things like cause and effect, change over time, their ability to source, that they're looking at information and can determine what's a better source. And then also argumentative writing. If your son or daughter has me for honors government, then we're looking at the philosophical foundations of American government. We'll look at the nuts and bolts of the three branches. We look at court cases in order to discuss civil rights and civil liberties. And then we kind of round out with political parties, voting, and interest groups. We also look at domestic and foreign policy and state and local government through current events that we do in class at least every other week. And the other thing is we are also involved with a competition called We the People. And that is an activity where students work in panels on different issues related to the Constitution. And then we will compete first in a school-wide competition in November. The best teams from that competition will then go on to the state competition, which is in December. And then hopefully maybe a team here will win and make it to the national competition, which is in April. So the grading policy in general and social studies is a point system, and we do our best to weight those in a way. So, smaller assignments are generally worth about 10 points. Bigger projects, bigger tasks are going to get, higher point values. So you'll see that. Now, in our government classes this year, most of the big work is going to be on this We the People competition, which will kind of replace tests. However, there will be some quizzes. In honors U.S. history, there will also be some big project work they do, but we will also test them at the end of every unit. So, generally, I'd say about 65 to 70% of the grade will be towards the big stuff, and about 35% of the grade will be based on the smaller in-class work that we do. Students in class, with both courses, we do take some limited notes. And I definitely would encourage students to do that as they prepare for college. But we do a lot of work in different groups. So there's a lot of collaborative activity. We also want students to figure out what works for them. Definitely either get questions answered from the teacher, or that they have some good peers that know what's going on. And also, that we're developing their writing skills actually in both classes. Generally, the behavioral issues here are very minimal, but respect, getting to class on time is a strong issue for the school this year, and that we're using technology properly. Everything, for the most part, in my class, maybe some testing won't, but almost everything else is on Google Classroom. So, I would suspect now that you've got juniors and seniors, most of you know how to get to that. But, your son or daughter has an access to this place, and so you'll have to use their codes to get in. Generally, they have a student ID, which is their initial username, and then their password, that's their password. So it can get you in so you can see generally what's going on. And in that version that they see, there's classwork and updates and announcements and assignments. You can see the specific assignments by clicking on the classwork tab. So it will tell you whether or not something's due, it's been turned in, and whether or not it's been returned. I would generally say that in most cases, once an assignment's turned in, I will give it a little bit of lag time just to make sure I get them all. And then I would say within about a week to 10 days, things will be graded. Please ignore my lights. It just went out. So thank you for taking a look at the courses, either U.S. history or U.S. government. As you can see, my contact information, email is maturner@lexridge5.org, and my phone number here in the classroom is 803-476-8798. I think this is going to be a great year. It's already been a lot of fun. But again, feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I hope you have a good time looking at other presentations. And at some point, I hope during the school year, we might actually see and meet each other. Have a good evening.